My name is Anna. I am 31 years old. I teach English at Oxford University. I like my job. I like to help people learn. I like the classroom. I like to see my students grow. But my life outside class is quiet. I live alone. I eat alone. I sleep alone. Most days I feel okay, but some nights I feel very lonely. I had a boyfriend once. I thought he loved me. I gave him everything, but he changed. He left. He did not even say goodbye. After that, I closed my heart. I said, no more love. I only wanted to teach. I only wanted to work. I did not want pain again. Then Leo came into my class. He was 22 years old. He joined the beginner English course through international vacancy. He wanted to speak better. He wanted to study in the UK. He was an adult learner, not a child, but still young. He was not like the other students. He was quiet. He was kind. He listened well. He always looked into my eyes when I spoke. He always sat in the third row, near the window. He came early to class. He stayed late after class. He asked questions. Not just about English. He asked about books, about Oxford, about life in England. I always answered. But inside, I felt something strange. I told myself, Anna, stop. You are the teacher. He is your student. This is wrong. But my heart did not listen. My heart waited for him. My heart looked for his smile. One day, after class, he came to my desk. He held a book in his hand. He said, Miss Anna, do you know a quiet place to read? I smiled. I said, yes. There is a bookshop near here. It has a cafe. It is nice and quiet. He smiled back. Thank you, he said. I will go there. That night I made tea. I sat by my window. I looked outside. I thought about Leo. I thought about his voice. I thought about his eyes. I felt warm and confused. I said, no, this is not right. But still, I smiled. The next week, I went to the bookshop. I wanted to buy something to read. I walked past the cafe inside. I saw him. Leo. He was there. He had a cup of coffee. He had a book in his hand. He looked up and saw me. He smiled. Miss Anna, he said, you were right. This place is very nice. I wanted to walk away, but he stood up. Would you like to sit for a minute? He asked. I said yes. We talked. He told me about his country. He told me about his family. He asked about my life. I told him I live alone. I told him I like quiet places. He said, you seem like a calm person. I smiled and said nothing. After a while, I stood up. I said, thank you. I need to go now, he said. It was nice to talk to you. That night, I could not sleep. The next day, I met my friend Caroline. She is also a teacher. We had lunch together. She looked at me and said, "You look different. Is something wrong?" I said, "There is a student in my class. I feel something for him." She looked surprised. "Oh," she said. "That can be hard." I nodded. "He is kind. He is smart. He listens to me. I do not want to feel this way." Caroline held my hand. She said, "You are human, Anna. But be careful." After that day, I tried to be strong. I tried to act normal, but it was not easy. When I saw Leo, my heart felt heavy. When he spoke, I listened too closely. When he smiled, I smiled back. I hated that I could not control my feelings. One afternoon, after class, he walked beside me. It was raining. He had an umbrella. He said, "Do you want to share it?" I said, "No, thank you. I like the rain." He smiled, but said nothing. We walked in silence. Then he turned and left. My hair was wet. My shoes were wet. But I did not care. I felt warm inside. The next day, I found a paper in one of the books on my desk. It was a letter. There was no name, but I knew it was from Leo. It said, "I know I should not say this. I know you are my teacher, but I think about you. I will not do anything wrong. I just wanted you to know." My hand shook. My face felt hot. I closed the paper and put it in my drawer. I did not speak to him. I did not write back. But that night, I read the letter again. More days passed. Then the last class came. I gave the lesson. I said goodbye to my students. They clapped. They took their certificates and left. But Leo stayed. He walked to my desk. He looked into my eyes. "So this is the end," he said. I nodded. "Yes, you are not my student anymore." He gave a small smile. "No, I am not." We stood there in silence. Then he said, "Thank you, Miss Anna, for teaching me, and for more than that." I looked at him. I wanted to say something, but I said, "Good luck, Leo." He turned and walked away. I stood in the classroom alone. My hands were cold. My heart was full. My head said, "Be quiet." But my heart whispered, "I miss him already." After the final class, I did not see Leo again. The classroom felt empty. The halls were quiet. I walked through the same doors, but something had changed. I still smiled at my new students. I still taught my lessons. But inside, I felt heavy. I thought about Leo every day. I remembered his voice, his smile. His eyes. I missed him. I went to the cafe near the bookstore. I sat by the window and looked outside. I watched the people walk past. I hoped to see him again. I looked at the door many times, but Leo never came. I finished my tea and walked home. My heart was still full of him. At night, I cooked dinner. I watched the news. I cleaned my kitchen. I read books. But my thoughts always went back to Leo. I saw his face in my mind. I heard his words in my heart. I asked myself, why do I still feel this way? I tried to forget him, but it did not work. Many weeks passed, then a few months. Each day felt slow. Some days I felt okay, but many days I felt empty. My flat was quiet. My phone stayed silent. I went to bed early. I woke up tired. I missed feeling alive. I missed the way I felt when he was around. I started walking more in the evenings. I walked near the river. I sat in the park. I watched children play. I watched couples laugh. I watched old people feed the birds. I sat alone on a bench and closed my eyes. Sometimes I wished I could go back in time, just for a moment. One evening, I met my friend Caroline again. We sat in our usual cafe. She ordered coffee. I ordered tea. She looked at me and smiled. "You are still thinking about him," she said. I nodded. "Yes, I am." She took my hand. "Then maybe your story with him is not finished." Her words made me think. That night, I looked at the stars. I sat near my window and closed my eyes. I did not speak. I only felt. I hoped. I wished. One Saturday morning, the sky was clear. The sun was soft. I went to the local market. I wanted fruit and flowers. I walked slowly. I stopped at the flower stall. I looked at the yellow tulips. They were my favorite. Then I heard a voice. "Miss Anna." I turned around. It was Leo. He looked a little older. His hair was longer. He had a small beard. He looked at me and smiled. I could not move. My heart jumped. "Leo," I said. "Hello." He stepped closer. "It's really you." "Yes," I said. "It's been a long time." He looked at the flowers. "You still like tulips?" "I do," I said. "They make me happy." We stood in silence for a few seconds. Then he said, "Can we talk?" I looked around. I saw a bench under a tree. "Let's sit there." We walked together to the bench. We sat down. The wind touched my face. The birds sang above us. The moment felt still. "I wanted to see you," he said. "Many times. But I didn't know if I should." "I thought about you too," I said. "A lot." He looked at me. "You were my teacher. I never forgot that. But I also never forgot how you made me feel." I looked down at my hands. You are not my student anymore. No, he said. I'm not. We both smiled. I work now, he said, at a bookshop near the old library. It's quiet. I help people find books. I read a lot too. That sounds nice, I said. It is, he said. Reminds me of our class. Of you. My heart was beating fast. Can I ask something? He said. Yes, I said. Do you still feel it? He asked. The same feeling. I looked at his face. I saw truth in his eyes. I could not lie. Yes, I said. I do. He let out a small breath. I feel it too, he said. Still. I looked away. I was afraid. I still am. I don't want to hurt you, he said. Or your work. I just want to know you. Not as a teacher. Just as a person. His voice was soft. His words were clear. I don't know if we should, I said. Then let's not rush, he said. Let's meet like friends. Maybe, I said. Maybe we can. He smiled. Next week? Tea? I looked at him. Okay. We stood up. He walked with me to the end of the street. He waved goodbye. I watched him walk away. My hands felt cold, but my heart felt warm. I had not smiled like that in a long time. The next week we met at the cafe. We sat at the same table near the window. He wore a green sweater. I wore a white dress. We talked for over an hour. We laughed. We remembered books from our class. He said, "You were the first teacher who really saw me." I smiled. We met again the next week. We walked in the park. The trees were full and green. We sat by the river. The water moved slowly. He told me about his family. I told him about mine. I felt calm. I felt safe. Sometimes we just sat in silence, but it was not a sad silence. It was soft. It was full of meaning. One day I told Caroline, "We are seeing each other," I said. She looked at me. "Are you happy?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Very," she smiled. "Then it's okay. You waited, and now he's not your student. It's not wrong anymore." Her words made me feel better. Each time I met Leo, I felt lighter. I started to sleep better. I started to dream again. I looked forward to the next day, to the next smile, to the next moment with him. He did not try to impress me. He did not try to be perfect. He was just himself. And I liked that. We went to museums. We went to a small movie. We sat in the garden and talked. We shared food. We shared jokes. We shared silence. All of it felt easy. It felt real. One evening, we sat near the bookstore where he worked. He gave me a small gift. It was a bookmark. On it were the words, "Thank you for seeing me." I touched the bookmark. I looked at him. I did not speak. I just smiled. That night I held the bookmark in my hand. I thought about him, about the past, about the quiet love that was growing now. Maybe we did not start in the right way. Maybe our story was strange, but it was still real, and it was just beginning. Time passed quickly after that. Leo and I continued to meet. We talked, we laughed, and we shared many quiet days. I started to feel alive again. I felt young and full of hope, but deep inside, I was also afraid. I did not speak about this fear, not even to Caroline. One afternoon, we sat in the park. The sun was soft. Children played nearby. Leo was reading a book. I watched him. His face was calm. His hands held the book gently. I smiled, but then I felt something inside me. Something sad. I asked myself again, can this really work? He was kind. He was smart. He cared about me. But he was still young. And I was not only older. I had been his teacher. People would talk. My job could be at risk. My name could be hurt. Leo looked up. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. I looked away. "Nothing important," I said. But it was a lie. At home, I sat in my chair and thought for hours. I made tea. I looked at the rain on the window. I tried to think clearly. I asked myself, what do I want? What is right? Caroline came over that weekend. I told her how I felt. I said, "I love being with him, but I am scared. I don't know what to do." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "It's okay to be scared, but you have to be honest. With him and with yourself." The next time I saw Leo, we sat at a table outside the cafe. The sky was gray. The wind was cold. I looked at him for a long time before I spoke. "Leo," I said, "I care about you, but I need to think about the future." He looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not sure if this can work," I said. He looked hurt. "Why not?" "You are younger," I said. "You are just starting your life. I already lived that part." He was quiet. "I'm not saying I don't feel anything," I said. "I do. But feelings are not always enough." He looked into my eyes. "Do you want to stop seeing me?" I did not answer right away. "No," I said. "But maybe we need space." Leo did not argue. He just looked down. "Okay," he said. "If that's what you need." That was the last time we met for many weeks. The days felt long again. The evenings felt dark. I walked to work. I walked home. I saw the same people, but something was missing. I missed Leo, but I also felt quiet inside, like I had closed a door and did not know how to open it again. 2 months passed. One day, I received an invitation to a wedding. It was from an old friend. I went. I wore a blue dress. I sat near the back. People danced. People laughed. I stood near the table, holding a glass of water. Then I heard someone say, "Anna?" I turned. It was Mark, a man I knew from my past. We had worked together at a summer school many years ago. He smiled. I smiled too. We talked. We shared stories. We laughed. That night he walked me home. We met again the next week. Then again. Mark was different from Leo. He was my age. He had a stable job. He liked quiet things. He spoke gently. He made me feel safe, not excited like Leo, but calm, peaceful. Months passed. Mark asked me to marry him. I looked at him. He was good. He was kind. I said yes. My family was happy. My friends were happy. Caroline hugged me and said, "I'm proud of you." But inside, part of me felt sad. I remembered Leo, his voice, his smile, his gift, the bookmark. "Thank you for seeing me." I kept it in my book, hidden but close. I did not see Leo again until one rainy afternoon, 1 year later. I was walking through the bookshop where he once worked. I saw him standing near the back, helping a child find a book. He looked older now, more serious, still kind. He turned and saw me. His face changed. Not angry, not sad, just surprised. "Hi, Leo," I said. "Hi," he said. "It's been a while?" "Yes," I said. "It has." He looked at my hand. He saw the ring. He smiled, but it was a small, quiet smile. "You got married," he said. "I did," I said. "Just a few months ago." He looked at the floor. "I'm happy for you." I wanted to say something. I wanted to tell him he was not a mistake, that he still meant something, that he helped me feel again. Instead, I said, "You look well." "So do you," he said. We stood in silence. Then he said, "I still remember our talks, our walks, the class." "I remember too," I said. He gave a small laugh. "I still have your old book, the one you gave me." "Really?" I smiled. "Yes," he said. "It has a flower inside, from that walk near the river." I looked at him. He was no longer a boy. He was a man now. A kind man. A strong man. But not mine. "Well," I said, "it was good to see you." "You too," he said. We said goodbye. I walked out of the shop. The rain was soft. My steps were slow. That night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea. I looked at the rain again. I thought of him. I thought of what could have been, but I also knew I had made a choice. Sometimes, love is not enough. Sometimes, we choose safety over fire, calm over chaos. I walked down the aisle with someone who could give me peace. I left behind the one who made my heart beat fast. Was it the right choice? I may never know, but I carry Leo in my heart, not with pain, but with warmth. He helped me feel again. He helped me see myself, and that will never go away. Some stories do not end with forever. Some stories end quietly, but they still matter. And this was one of them. We all go through hard times, but stories like this can help us feel seen. Thank you for watching, and come back for more real moments. My name is Jane. I am 30 years old. My life was calm before I met Oliver. I worked at a small office in the city. I lived alone in a small flat. I cooked simple food. I watched films in the evening. I felt safe in my routine. I did not have much, but I had peace. One day a friend invited me to a small dinner at her place. I did not want to go at first because I was tired from work, but she said it would be quiet and simple, so I agreed. That evening, I met Oliver for the first time. He was tall and quiet. He had soft eyes and a warm smile. When he looked at me, I felt seen. When he spoke to me, I felt calm. We talked about work, the city, and our days. His voice was gentle. I felt comfortable with him, even though we had just met. When I left that night, I felt warm in a way I did not feel for a long time. A few days later, he sent me a message and asked if we could meet. We walked in a park near my home. The sky was clear and people sat on the grass. We talked again. He asked many questions about my life. He wanted to know what I liked to eat, what colors I liked, what music I listened to. His interest felt sweet. I felt important. When I got home, I sat on my sofa for a long time. I felt light. I thought maybe this was the start of a good thing. We met more after that. He brought me small gifts like a flower or a sweet drink. He said he thought of me during the day. I smiled at his words. I felt special. My friends said I looked brighter. I agreed. I started to think about him at night before I slept. I started to wait for his messages. I checked my phone more often. I hoped he liked me as much as I liked him. One evening, we sat near a quiet river. He told me he wanted a real relationship. I felt joy. I said yes. We held hands. I felt warm and steady. In that moment, I thought I found the right person. I thought my life would get better with him in it. At first, everything felt easy. Oliver wanted to see me often. He called me every morning. He asked about my meals and my day. I felt cared for. But slowly, his questions changed. He started asking who I talked to at work. He wanted to know where I went during my lunch break. He asked why I liked some friends more than others. His voice stayed calm, so I told myself he only cared. I told myself this was normal. I wanted to make him happy, so I answered every question. I did not want to cause trouble in our new relationship. A few weeks later, he asked if I could spend less time with my friends. He said they did not respect me. I asked him why he thought that. He said they were loud and careless. He said I looked tired after seeing them. I did not agree, but I did not want to upset him. I told him I could see them less often. He smiled and said he felt better when I stayed home. I wanted his smile, so I said yes. After that, he asked if we could spend weekends only together. He said he missed me during the week. I said yes again. He thanked me and said I was the only person who understood him. His praise made me feel warm, so I thought I did the right thing. Slowly, my days began to change. I woke up thinking about how to make Oliver happy. I dressed in colors he liked. I ordered food he preferred when he came to my home. I watched shows he chose. I answered his calls even when I felt tired. He called often and wanted to know where I was at every moment. If I did not answer, he sent more messages. I told myself it was fine. I told myself every couple did this. One night he got upset because I visited my sister after work. I told him I forgot to tell him because my day was busy. His voice got low. He said he did not like surprises. He said it made him feel left out. I felt bad. I did not want him to feel that way. I said I was sorry. He accepted my apology, but his voice stayed cold for the rest of the call. That night, I could not sleep well. I worried I hurt him. From that day, I told him every small plan before I did it. He seemed happier when I did that. He said I was thoughtful. I felt proud of myself for keeping the peace. But inside, I started to feel tired. My mind felt heavy with every detail I had to share. Still, I stayed quiet. I wanted the calm moments. I did not want arguments. Months passed, and my world grew small. I did not see my friends anymore. I only saw my sister sometimes. Work felt harder because I checked my phone so often. I feared missing his calls. I did not want him to feel ignored. When people asked if I was okay, I smiled and said yes. It was easier than explaining the truth. At home, I moved carefully. When Oliver came over, I made sure everything was clean. He did not like messy rooms. I made sure the music matched his taste. He liked soft songs. I made sure the food was simple because he did not like strong flavors. I wanted him to feel safe in my home. I wanted him to feel close to me. But each time he left, I felt a light fade from the room. I sat on my sofa and felt tired in a way I could not explain with simple words. It felt like I used all my strength on small things. My friends stopped inviting me out because I always said no. My sister asked why I was quiet all the time. I told her work was hard. I did not want her to worry. I did not want to admit that I felt smaller each day. I did not want to admit that something in my life did not feel right. I tried to stay strong. I tried to focus on the good moments with Oliver. But then one evening, I felt a calm inside me break a little. Oliver and I went to a small cafe. I saw a group of women laughing near a window. Their laughter sounded warm. They looked free. I watched them for a moment. A soft ache moved through me. I could not recall the last time I laughed like that. I could not recall the last time I sat with friends without fear of upsetting someone. It felt distant, like a memory from another life. Oliver noticed my quiet face and asked if I was fine. I said yes. I smiled. I did not want problems. But when I looked out the window again, I felt a part of myself I had forgotten. A part that once felt bright and steady. A part that used to enjoy life without fear. I went home that night and sat on my bed for a long time. I looked around my room. It felt like a place made for Oliver, not for me. The colors, the music, the food, the scents. Nothing felt like mine anymore. I tried to think about the person I was before I met him. It felt hard. I felt far from that version of myself. I felt weak and unsure. I wanted to understand how I reached this point. I wanted to understand why I felt so tired all the time. I wanted to stand up for myself, but I did not know how. I felt like a shadow of the woman I used to be. A quiet thought moved through my mind that night. It was soft, but steady. I wanted my strength back. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. The next weeks passed slowly. I woke each morning with the same routine. I checked my phone before I even sat up. Oliver always sent a message at night, telling me to sleep early or reminding me to be careful at work. At first it felt sweet. Now it felt like a rule. I told myself it was normal, but the truth felt different inside me. I felt tired even before the day began. At work, people spoke to me, but my mind was somewhere else. I tried to focus, but my thoughts kept going back to Oliver. I wondered if he was happy with me. I wondered if I said anything wrong. I wondered if I forgot to tell him a plan. My head felt full all the time. When my coworker Ben asked if I wanted to join a group lunch, I said no. I did not want to explain where I was. I did not want Oliver to ask questions later. Ben looked confused but did not push. When he walked away, I felt alone. That evening, Oliver called. He asked what I ate. He asked if I talked to anyone new. He asked why my voice sounded low. I told him I was just tired. He said I should sleep early. I said yes. I always said yes. When the call ended, I held my phone and stared at the screen for a long time. I felt small. I did not want to feel that way, but I did. One Saturday afternoon, my sister Beth came to my flat without telling me. When I opened the door, she looked surprised to see how pale I felt. She asked if we could talk. I did not know how to say no, so I let her in. She sat on my sofa and looked at me with worry. She asked why I always canceled plans. She asked why I never smiled the way I used to. I told her everything was fine. She looked at me for a long time before speaking again. Her voice was soft. She said she missed the old me. Her words made my throat tight, and I looked away. I told her I was just busy, but she did not believe me. She held my hand and asked if I was happy. I could not answer. She stayed with me for an hour, then hugged me before she left. When the door closed, I felt a deep quiet around me. Later that night, Oliver asked why Beth came. He wanted to know what we talked about. He wanted to know if she said anything about him. His voice was sharp, not gentle. I felt my body tense, but I tried to sound calm. I told him she only asked how I was. He asked again and again. I felt tired, so tired, but I answered each question. When the call ended, I sat on the floor next to my bed. I felt like I could not carry this weight anymore. A few days later, something simple made me pause. I walked to the small shop near my flat to buy bread. The street was busy with people. Some walked fast. Some laughed with friends. A few children ran with small steps and bright voices. I watched them for a moment. Their energy felt warm. Their freedom felt clear. I stood there holding a small bag of bread while people moved past me. I felt far from them, as if I lived in a smaller world than theirs. When I reached home, I placed the bread on the table and looked at my flat again. I saw how much of it was shaped by Oliver's likes. The colors, the small items, the soft music that played on my speaker. It all felt like pieces of him. I could not find myself in the room. A quiet sadness rose in me as I stood there. I felt the loss of the girl I used to be. That night, Oliver came to visit. He looked tired, and his voice sounded flat. He asked why my replies were slow during the day. He asked if I was upset with him. I said no. He asked again. I said no again. He stepped closer and said he felt unsure about me. His words made my heart drop. I told him I cared for him. He stayed silent. Then he asked if I could try harder. He said he needed more from me. I said I would try. I said it even though I did not know how much more I had to give. After he left, I sat on my bed and held my pillow close. I wanted to cry, but I felt too tired to cry. My mind felt slow. I felt like my life belonged to his moods. I could not remember the last time I made a choice only for myself. The next morning, I stood in front of my mirror before work. I looked at my face. I looked at my eyes. They felt dull. I touched my hair and straightened it the way Oliver liked. Then I stopped. I moved my hand away. For a moment, I let my hair fall naturally. I stared at myself. I did not look like the woman I used to be. I felt like my days were built around one person, and that person was not me. On the way to work, I walked slowly. My steps felt heavy. I knew I needed to make a change, but I did not know where to start. I did not want to lose Oliver, but I also felt lost within myself. My thoughts formed a small truth I could no longer ignore. The days after our last call felt slow. I moved through them quietly. I worked, I cooked, I cleaned, but nothing felt steady inside me. I felt like I walked through a soft fog. I tried to understand how I lost so much of myself, but the answer never came in one piece. It came in small moments. One evening, Oliver called with a tense voice. He asked why I did not answer fast that afternoon. I told him I was busy with a report. He said he felt pushed aside. He asked if I still cared for him. His tone pressed on me, and I felt tired all over again. When the call ended, I looked at my phone and placed it face down on the table. The silence in the room felt heavy, but also calm. A short time later, my sister Beth visited. She did not message first. When I opened the door, she looked at me for a long moment. She said I looked worn out. I tried to smile, but it was weak. She sat with me on the sofa and asked why I always canceled plans. She asked why my voice sounded flat when we talked. I looked down. I told her I was only tired. She touched my hand and said she missed the lively version of me. Her words reached a place inside me I had ignored. When she left, the quiet in the room felt different. It felt like a gentle reminder that someone cared. The next day, I walked home from the shop with a small bag of food. I watched people move around me. Some held children's hands. Some talked with friends. Some walked alone with relaxed steps. I felt far from them. I missed that ease. I missed being able to move through a day without fear of upsetting someone. Later, Oliver asked if he could visit that night. I felt a soft push inside me to say no. I needed a quiet evening. I needed a moment without pressure. I told him I wanted to rest alone. He did not like my words. He said it felt strange. He said he needed me. I told him again, calmly, that I needed quiet time. He hung up without saying goodbye. Even so, I felt a small piece of air open inside my chest. It was a tiny step, but it was mine. The next morning, he did not send his usual message. The silence felt unusual, but also peaceful. At work, Ben asked if I wanted to join a small lunch group. For the first time in months, I said yes. We sat outside the office and talked about simple things. I listened, and slowly, I felt myself relax. When someone said a small joke, I laughed. The sound felt light, like a part of me I forgot I had. In the evening, Oliver finally called. He asked if I was still upset. I told him I was not upset, but I needed time to think about myself. He did not like this. He said I was being unfair. He said he gave everything. I listened quietly. When he stopped, I told him I felt lost in the relationship. I told him I needed space to feel steady again. He said he did not know if he could stay with someone who needed distance. I heard the truth in his voice. I also heard a truth inside myself. We ended the call with no anger, just a simple end. When I placed my phone down, I felt a soft calm spread through the room. It was not joy. It was not sorrow. It felt like a slow breath after a long time. The next morning, I opened my window. Cool air filled my flat. I stood there for a long moment, watching the street below. People walked with quiet steps. A small dog ran after a leaf. A bus passed slowly. Life moved in simple ways. I made myself tea and sat near the window. The cup felt warm in my hands. I looked around my home and saw the small things I once cared about before I changed them for someone else. I felt a gentle sense of myself return, piece by piece. I knew I still had learning to do. I knew I had a long road ahead. But I also knew this. I was ready to live for myself again. And that truth felt like strength. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English.